The pale moon was rising above the green mountain. The sun was declining beneath the blue sea. As I strayed with my true love from the pure crystal fountain that made me love Mary, the Rose of Tralee. She was lovely and fair as the rose of the summer, yet it was not her beauty alone that loved me. Oh no, 'twas the truth in her eyes ever shining that made me love Mary, the Rose of Tralee.
There she goes. She gives that high note at the end. Sister Nora, I'd like to say that you're home again, but I realize that you have another home, different places to visit and all of that. But it's been a pretty rough year. But what I'd like to do is let the folks know who Nora is and what her life has been. And as we go through this, we'll develop different stories and that you would like to share with us. So welcome home, Sister Nora.
Thank you.
Good. I wrote something in the Braden Herald not too many years ago, and I opened it with, she doesn't ask for favors, she asks for an angel. And as we tell a few of the stories, people will understand why that angel is here. That angel is here at Stillpoint. And just the use of the word Stillpoint, I think, has been a real challenge to this community, to go where it's silent, to go for inner peace, and to go think about what's important in this world. At your anniversary celebration, I was really surprised to hear that this little girl, this little nun, had come to the United States in 1947.
Yes.
I was going to say you were about 5 years old, but you were already, we don't call it ordained, what do we call it?
Professed.
Professed, okay. As a nun, and into this strange world of this country with its glory and its beauty and all of the things, but yes. Your mission was different. You were sent, but was it by choice?
Well, I suppose I made the initial choice, but once I, submitted to it was not my choice. Like the apostles, we were sent forth.
On this mission?
Yes. And my mission was to the United States.
And in '89, you came into Palmetto. We'll go into that in a few minutes. But basically, when you were sent here, you were a school teacher.
I was training. You see, I entered and I was only 18. When I came to this country, I was 21. And I was beginning my training for whatever profession I would choose to be in, and I chose to be a teacher.
When I spoke to you before, you told me something that has been discussed a lot in recent years in the educational field. Women have always been adjudged as not being very good in math. Yes. The reason I go into that is the first thing you told me was something that has stayed with me ever since. Yes. The teaching of math as a pure science, and you made me understand something that I had never thought of before. Yes. Tell me why math?
You see, math is truth. 2 and 2 is always going to be 4. And if you make it anything more or less, it's not the truth. That's why I say math and the Bible has a lot in common.
There's no wrong answers?
No wrong answers in math. Because 2 and 2 is always going to be 4. And like Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments.
And it was understood in the educational circles and from some professors that I have spoken with over the years when my children struggled, or I struggled with geometry, yes, and said, you're making it too complicated. You are making it so that business about a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points is the truth. Yes. But how do you figure that in when there's angles and all of the other things that cross in life's path?
Well, I see an angle is made up of 2 straight lines. And that gives you an angle when they meet at a point with a space between.
And then it grows, and then it becomes a little bigger, a little larger.
Depending on how far you extend the lines.
This is so much of what I garnered from your personality as a teacher. So when you came over here, did you teach school?
I had to train. First of all, I had to go to college, and I had to train. And we always had somebody supervising us, how we were presenting the lessons to the students. That's very important. You can make it, you know, simple, and the simpler you make it, the better.
It's like planting that seed, right?
That's right.
If you just get it in the right spot, in the sunshine,
and
with
the good
water.
Fertile soil, all these things go together.
And you were with the Order of St. Francis?
St. Francis, yes.
And from Tralee, I think one of the things that you and I discussed right on was our backgrounds are very, very similar. Yes. Except I'm a second-generation Irishman, and, yes, and you're a first-generation Irishman.
Full-blooded,
A full-blooded one.
A whole-blooded one.
Well, we haven't been able to find anybody else in our background, but interestingly, we all are wise enough to know that no one comes purely down the path of their DNA. That there's a certain cultural thing about Ireland, though.
Oh, yes.
And did it serve you well here?
Well, yes, because I always felt the family was very solid. There was no even mention or thought of divorce, you know, and that was, you were so sure of your mother, you were so sure of your father, and income, you know, you were always sure of a bed, you know, and sure of food and all the needs, the basic needs. And they were as good as anybody else of our time.
That's true. In other words, it was not the material things, it was that good staunch background, mother, father, yes, siblings, lots of siblings, yes, many times. Yes. Also, some of the siblings were dedicated to so-and-so was going to be the priest, that's and so-and-so right, was going to go in the convent. That's right. And we won't go into whether that's good or bad, because people will do, when they're led a certain way, they'll either take it, run with it, or that's change it.
Yeah. Correct. And if they persevere, that shows truth. And if they don't persevere, that would show, you know, show that it wasn't in their heart to begin with.
But you know, for the little girl who came here in 1947, yes, and then you jump ahead to, I think it was 1989, you arrived in Palmetto, Florida to assist the migrant community. Yes. It flowered into 2 programs. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you were led into education, that's right, which is the lifeblood of most of our, yes, careers, yes, but then took that another step Did you choose that assignment in Palmetto, or did...
I think it was in my heart to help them, and education is very strong in Ireland, and education is freedom, education is power, and it keeps you from being enslaved if you have an education. And especially people who, the great need is to study English in this country. And that's why I started Project Light. And that's really going very well. It has its own building now.
That was the first one, and then later the Stillpoint, but you the Project Literacy.
Yeah,
at that
it's
time.
The same, really.
Okay. So you were still the teacher.
Yes.
And you were going to push forth for the honoring the English language.
Oh yes, yes, because you're really at the mercy of the waves if you can't read or write English. You're depending on this one to interpret, and you pay them and all the rest of that. Better they learn the language themselves, and I've seen students going from illiteracy to reading on a 5th grade level, because language is power.
That's amazing. Now let's go to one other point in that regard. Why Stillpoint after that with the literacy program?
Stillpoint is the name of this house, and it's a house of prayer, because I feel we're suffering. I call it a cancer of noise. There's noise in the homes, there's noise in the cars, the what you call blaring, and the what you call radios.
The boom boxes.
Yes, and I think they're so deafened, I would say, to noise, and by noise, that be still and know that I am God. It's such a treat to be still, to be silent, and that's where we can connect with God. And Jesus went to a lonely place to pray, and he often went apart by himself to pray. And the world would be a much better place if that line from the Bible could be understood and put into practice. Be still and know that I am God.
Well, maybe you and I, right now at this moment, and I am just to hearing you talk, I get that sense of peace and relaxation. I can feel sitting back, your body language changes. But the thing is, like two busy women, any two women in this county or anywhere, we would be working at the different tasks that we have to do. We run into each other, we say, let's do lunch.
Yes.
One of these days we'll do lunch. Yeah. Or better still, let's have dinner. Let's go over and have a Guinness, yeah, and have a few minutes together. But it never materializes. You try, and you know, oh well, you know, I'll see her Saturday night. There will be some kind of fundraiser, or I will call you and say I'm sending somebody over that needs your help. Yes. Or you'll call and say, would you push those politicians a little more? Yeah. And so we get things done. But what is it doing to us internally? I think that's what you're saying. Are we communicating?
You see, that's where you might say, let's go lunch, or but find that peace within your own heart. And it's always there. If we just sit, and as Jesus did, went to a lonely place. We can always find a lonely place in one of our rooms or whatever. Turn off I have no television. I don't want a television. I don't care if I never saw one again. But anyway, if they can turn off that television in the house and just develop.
Okay, if you're watching us right now, you might want to take a few minutes just to get your piece and get it all together.
Yes.
And believe me, that is a very, very important thing. Now, and also, your devotion to mathematics or your understanding of that science sounds to me, I suddenly heard music. And that's the other gift of God that we've been given. A very clear message in math. And then a very, very definite magic in music, or joy in music, or in sorrow.
Yeah.
And we sang a couple of numbers before we started today, you and I, because I wanted to sing to you the Rose of Tralee. Yes. And it's Nora, no, not Mary of the Rose of Tralee, but that's an Irish characteristic too.
It is.
Yeah, you got to pop out a song every now and then.
My father used to make up songs, and it was usually something that might happen in the village, and that he'd make up a song about it. And of course, when he'd go into a pub, they'd always ask him to sing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And whether they ask me or not, I do it.
Yeah.
You know, and
so
you do.
Anyway, one of the songs, and one was about, there was a bazaar. Now, a bazaar was something like you'd have a sale of work or something here. You might call it something else. But they had raffle tickets, and they'd raffle a plate or whatever. And I could sing a little bit of one. I don't know if I know it. And it was, "Oh, listen, my friends, and I'll sing you a song about the bazaar and the money that's gone. As for myself, sure, I never yet care, for I never was lucky in crockery ware. Though darum, darum, diddlum, dam. Myself and the old man, we would get along. It's many a time I would sing a good song. I'd hop and I'd leap and I'd give and I'd rare. Sing, if I don't get Ruby, I must get the ware." And of course he used to say, I don't know what my wife thinks about that. Because Ruby was the wife of the man who owned the bazaar.
Uh-oh. So he did not want to be united with Ruby. We have somebody that's just joined us. They heard you singing, and you brought a crowd, just like your father, right?
That's right. Oh, he used to make songs about anything that happened in the area.
Well, you know, I realize that with all the wonderful things that happen, there are times when we suffer problems. For every random act of kindness or deliberate act of kindness, there's always something that comes along to remind us that we are feeble, that we have problems. And you've come through a very, very difficult time.
Yes.
And I said, if there's any point at which you don't want to discuss something like that, I understand. But it seems to me that you're not in recovery by any means. You look wonderful.
Yes.
You've survived once
yes.
more. And so how is your world now?
Well, I'm glad to have this opportunity in public to thank all the angels and saints who prayed for me. It's a miracle, a pure miracle, that I am able even to think straight. And what the good people of this area have done, all I can say, you are legions of angels. The letters, the comforting words, a donation maybe in a letter, or whatever you did. I love you, and I thank you. You brought me through this like heaven worked directly in my body, soul, mind, and spirit. God bless you.
Well, and let's hope that you found a lot of new shepherds that could carry on your work, whether it's here or in their own community, or whether it's in their daily lives in the office or wherever they go. Mother Teresa, you know, we've kind of laughingly said that at your 60th anniversary at that evening when members of your order came, your relatives all came from Tralee. There was Father Damien came in from Lakewood Ranch, and he said, "I'm a Franciscan friar, but I'm still Irish tonight. I'm going to be Irish tonight." I think that's so magnificent that when and you're not embittered by something like this.
No. That man, God bless him, and restore him. He helped me quite a bit, and I don't know what it could be, something in the Mexican culture. We don't know, but he has been good to me, and I forgive him. And he doesn't have to be afraid of me. So all shall be well.
Well, that's magnificent, and I guess I wouldn't expect anything less of someone like you, because people do have problems in life, and we don't know. And you know what? It brings me to a point where when I heard about what happened to you, I said, and maybe this is the wrong word, but I've used it a lot of times, you're tough. And the way I know that is the day that you marched down in Bradenton to a landlord, went on his steps and said, "You've got to clean that place up. Those people are living in there. You're doing, what you're doing is wrong." And you very, very well could have had somebody that grabbed something and hit you or did something. That I know the gentleman, and he responded immediately to your request. But you had no fear in speaking to people, and also I note that you don't have pity. You don't look at someone coming to the door asking for a coat as pitiable. You see them as yourself.
That's right.
And if you need it on a cold day, and you needed a coat. So when I started this, I said, she doesn't ask for favors, she asks for an angel. And I think now it becomes apparent about your angel or angels. Because a gentleman showed up one day at your door on a chilly Florida morning, and he asked for a wrap or a coat. And you said, "Let me go look in the closet. I'll be right back. But would you mind, there's some weeds out here in the front. Would you mind pulling the weeds and sweeping up a little bit?" Now, you asked him nicely if he would do it. You didn't say, "Well, in order to get this coat, you're gonna do a little work for once." Not that. He did the work. You came out with the coat. You didn't say, "Well, you better come back again," or whatever. Unquestioned. The dignity of this human being was maintained.
Well, you know, the Bible says, "Freely have you received, freely give."
Freely as you've received, so all of those things that are donated, give it freely, and you're not the person in charge. You're not making a judgment on the guy.
No.
It seems to me you didn't make a judgment on the person who was so brutal in your case. You made no judgment.
And see, culture comes in a lot there too.
I think we are beginning to understand this with the Middle East, where people don't understand the simple showing of the sole of your foot could be enough to be an insult. And people feel, but you know, what you say is, so what? You know, why do people have to visit that upon me? I didn't do anything to you. But they'll take it out where they find it sometime. And there's a lesson one way or another, and it will probably impact a lot of other people.
And what did Jesus do that they had to shout out, "Crucify him, crucify him"? What did he do? He worked miracles, he healed the sick, he multiplied food, he did this, this, and this, but yet they shouted out, "Crucify him, crucify him." So
was he somewhat of a threat? Was he somewhat of a threat to them?
Jesus?
Yes. To their politics, their way of life, there was a lot of that.
Well, you see, they were not in the truth.
They were not
in the truth. And no matter what he did, They were not in the truth.
So that's why it was important to come to Stillpoint,
Yes.
to bring the, I would almost say, the leftovers, the leftover people from AA,
Yeah.
Alcoholics Anonymous, would be in here. Had probably struggling to take care of their addiction,
Yeah.
come in and find this solace after they go to their meeting.
Yes.
And have some counseling.
That's
They
right.
come in to sort it all out.
Yeah, well, we have Bible study in Spanish here, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I never told them the page of the reading. I have them find the page and give it to me so that they will know how to find a book in the Bible. And the Bible is very healing, you know. You'll always find the truth in it because it's there. So that too, like supplements the AA classes that they attend here. Because to get into reading the Bible daily, they need that support.
Sister, in regard to Stillpoint and all of the projects, you've mentioned over and over the matter of cultural significance when you're working with people. That's what's made it so special for you. Can you give us a little idea of the population that you've seen? I know you've seen everybody, people of all kinds, but basically you've been here in this area.
Well, we serve people like in an orderly fashion Monday and Friday. And each of those days we sign in about 100 to 120 families. So that would be 240 families a week.
For sustenance? For food?
Sustenance, for food.
For diapers? For
Yes,
everything?
Their basic needs. And bills for light, water, rent.
Assistance?
And medicine. And also, thank God, we have wonderful, wonderful volunteers. We have 3 nurses, and they are tremendous for getting help with health needs and medicine. Now, one woman had got a bill for $600 and something for medicine and can barely have enough food for the table. But anyway, the nurses, God bless them, they were able to reduce that to $60.
And you know, because of your work here, you've inspired the county to go to the one-stop center where some of the, now when you, if you come back or when you come back or however you work your future here, you'll have you'll have a lot of more resources because of the things that you did.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So
now, of course, we have reading program, a literacy center. It's about 3 blocks north of here, and that's called Project Light. Lighting one mind at a time. And we have Luz Corcuera, you know
yes,
her.
I know you.
And wonderful leaders in that literacy center. And I've seen many go from illiteracy to reading on a 5th grade level. And that, again, is a tremendous opening. Now, it also helps them getting their citizenship, because they have to be able to read and write. I remember one time it was when I was in Wauchula. We had used to work under a literacy center that gave the tests for that, and we had 80 who sat for the test, and a miracle of miracles, all 80 of them passed to get their citizenship. Now, those are lights that people need. Again, we help parents or urge them to send their children to school.
Now, with that message, you have a message for this community or this organization for the future.
Yes.
What is that?
The message is, keep the light on, keep the lights on in people's lives, especially in literacy. If they have literacy, they can get better jobs, and they can also, of course, if they get citizenship, it gives them something to stand on, and they're not afraid, as much afraid as if they don't have any papers, because anybody can use or abuse them when they don't have papers. We have women working, cleaning houses for 8 weeks, got no pay. But thank God we have a lawyer here who looks into those injustices. And that's a sin that cries to heaven for vengeance, to defraud the poor of their just wages. And so many say, oh, taxes and the taxes and the... Yeah, but look at the work they're doing, and very often not getting a just pay.
You're saying, I am my brother's keeper.
Yes, yes. And you see, those are sins that cry to heaven for vengeance.
Okay. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that this community is so grateful for you. There's so many important things that you've mentioned today. We could spend hours.
Yes.
But this has been very generous of you. You have a large crowd of people outside waiting to see you.
Yes.
That hope that you'll stay in touch and be with us.
Yes, for the next 100 years.
Very good. Thank you. If we try to define what is good in a very troubled world, we must look into the faces around us and know that good is to care. It can't be measured in thimbles or barrels. We carry it in our hearts and warm our lives by giving in measures both great and small. At Sister Nora's anniversary, we presented this poem, turning the muse into an angel. Where is our refuge in life's dark hours? Where is our solace in grief and sorrow? Who shares our joy in self-discover, in becoming whole again? With Portia, we say the quality of mercy falls in gentle raindrops to the place below. Who gives us those works of mercy? Who feels keenly and sharply? There is a still point within, where she waits for the hungry and the thirsty, the ragged edges of naked loss, the broken ones. She goes to the prison, the sick bed, the unmourned burial. Her prayers are shaped in light. Yet there is a still point in our community, not visible unless you look, silent unless you listen, not real unless you care. Take heart, everyone. She's written the lesson for us, that in this world we belong to each other.